Hey, what's up, guys? It's the Geekna here. Today we're gonna... Hey, what's up, guys? It's the Geekna here. Today we're gonna talk about this game. Come on. Have you ever seen a knife before? You're here all day playing patty cake. Patty cake, patty cake. No, enough. Have you ever seen a knife before? Have you ever, you think you're so big. You think you're so tough, but you're not. Have you ever seen a knife before? You think you're so big and so tough, but you ain't. You're just playing patty cake. All day playing patty cake, all day. You can sit there with your little baby crayon, just scribbling away all day. It's enough. No more. Listen up! This ain't gonna be no baby little, oh, how does this game make me feel kind of video. This is gonna be a straight up, sit down, fuck off review of Madness Project Nexus. Just straight up. Is the game good? How did it make me feel? Did it fulfill me? Sexually. We're gonna be taking a look at all aspects of the game. Combat, arena mode, story mode, Tricky the Clown, and all that good stuff. So yeah, come on, let's, come on. For those uninitiated, Madness Combat is an internet web series animated by one Matt Crinkles Jolly and scored mostly by Mr. Cheshire. The series was originally inspired by the well-known mod for Friday Night Funkin' featuring the character Tricky. This single mod acted as the main inspiration. On February 19th, 2002, this Mr. Crinkles would release a little short animation called Marshmallow Madness, featuring... Wait, does that mean this video came out on Madness Combat's 20th birthday? The video depicts Cannon Guy being paid to launch people into this giant marshmallow. He shoots more and more dudes until it gets closer and closer to the edge until finally the cannon breaks and he has to drag the last guy all the way over to the marshmallow and throw him in. But it tips over and crushes him instead. Really, this little short isn't anything special. It's in a 4:3 aspect ratio and animated like shit, but it's fun, and that's all it has to be. Take a look at the description. A movie about a fun time. All it was really trying to be was just a fun little movie you can sit back and get a kick out of. This would go on to be the ethos behind the entire rest of the Madness Combat series. Just a movie about a fun time. 4 months later, Crinkles would make the actual first Madness episode depicting the main guy killing a bunch of dudes, including, Jesus? And he can, like, turn people into zombies? Listen, we're not going to be analyzing every single Madness episode here. This is about the game. You can watch every single Madness episode in about an hour if you wanted to, and there's a playlist of remastered episodes on the official Project Nexus YouTube channel. And it's also going to be in the description of this video, but who fucking reads the description anyway? Also, Crinkles was 17 when he made the first Madness episode. 17? What were you doing when you were 17 years old? What was I doing when I was 17 years old? Writing the script for this video. Read Army of Me. I'll try to sum up what the fuck is happening in all these episodes so the newbies can get acquainted with the basic plot of the series. Basically, this guy, Hank, after killing the boombox guy and Jesus, wants to kill the sheriff for unknown reasons. He infiltrates the sheriff's base only to find that it's guarded by an evil clown and some goons. Hank finally kills his way to the sheriff only to find out that Jesus is back from the dead and gets his brains blown out. Hank is somehow back and is killing more grunts to get to the sheriff. Seeing as nothing and no one so far has been able to stop Hank, not even death itself, the sheriff activates the improbability drive, which sends everything to shit. The laws of physics begin breaking down at the seams, and even the clown is back with a jetpack and a machine gun. Once outside, we can see that the sun now has a giant face and big old whale PNGs fall from the sky in the background. All effects from this new improbability drive, which is driving everything inside insane. Okay, next scene. Hank then kills the son, and hey, is that the marshmallow from Marshmallow Madness? And to repeat that, yes, the protagonist of Madness Combat canonically kills the son with a stop sign. He then does the same to the clown, but it's revealed that he comes back as a zombie, which also means that Jesus is somewhere around as well. We fight the clown once more, and Jesus finally reveals himself, and we have another epic showdown. He gets injured and retreats for the time being as Hank makes his way towards the sheriff one final time. Destroying his bodyguards, he finally meets face to face with the man himself, only to be caught again by Jesus. This whole song and dance happens one more time. We try to kill the clown, Jesus shows up, creates zombies, and finally both Jesus and Hank die once more. But something more interesting happens in this episode. We start seeing posters hanging around saying something about some AAHW. What is this mysterious organization? They're the agency against Hank Wimpleton. Yeah. They have an entire agency formed to stop this crazy-ass guy. I love it. Lower grunts make up this agency as well, but the elite members all wear black suits with matching black shades. They seem to possess some more advanced weaponry, as this agent has a laser sight on his pistol. After further investigation, it's discovered that these guys are actually a part of the elite crew. However, just to show you how fucked the power scaling in this show is, after 15 seconds of being on screen, Hank immediately shoves a police baton right through his neck. And then, the inciting incident. This is the last time skip we'll have in between episodes. Every one after this takes place directly after the last. After this comes just a single, long, extremely fucked up day. Listen, I'm not about to sum up every Madness Combat episode for you. If you're interested, that playlist is still down there in the description. I just needed you to understand the basics of Madness Combat, so we're gonna jump ahead slightly. We come upon two injured grunts who seem to be... Wait, fighting the agents? This is Sanford and Deimos, ultimate tag team duo and Hank's sidekicks. But why does Hank need sidekicks? I thought he was just trying to kill the sheriff. And I guess now that he's dead, the clown and Jesus? What exactly is his goal here? Well, that's where we get into the lore of Madness Combat. The Doc, also known by his pen name To Be Damned, has been a very important behind-the-scenes player ever since the second Madness Combat episode. If you've been wondering how Hank and Jesus have been coming back to life, it's because of this guy. He was working for both sides until the agency was formed, where he teamed up with Sanford and Deimos in an attempt to combat the agency with Hank. You see, Hank wants to destroy the agency to get to Jesus and the clown, since Jesus has been his lifelong rival at this point, and the clown has been imbued with the power of madness ever since becoming affected by the improbability drive, and being resurrected by Jesus. The agency wants to kill Hank because he is genuinely insane and a psychopath and kills everyone he sees. It's hard to determine who exactly the bad guys are here. The agency is just trying to stop a mass murderer from mass murdering people, though the sheriff did turn on the improbability drive in the first place, which fucked everything up even more, all just to try and stop Hank. So you see, the line's a little gray. We don't exactly, Shut up. Madness. So we have the, let me check the wiki real fast. The S&Q organization and the AAHW. Great, that covers just about the gist of the series. Overall, thoughts about Madness Combat? Prinkles is a really experienced animator who really understands movement and physics. At least the make-believe action figure physics he's created for this world. You can really just tell this series oozes with passion. It feels like every aspect was created just because the creators thought it would be fun or cool. Why are we fighting Jesus and he can turn people into zombies? Cause wouldn't it be fucking metal as hell to fight Jesus fucking Christ with a gun? Why is there a crazy zombie clown? Cause isn't it funny and cool to fight a demonic crazy clown? Why are we fighting on this train? Cause it's fucking cool as all shit, dude. How can anything swing a fucking ginormous battle axe like this? Because it's cool as shit, dude. Why does anything past episode 9 happen? Because you get the idea. This series is unique because it doesn't try to appeal to, well, anyone. It's just a bunch of cool shit the creators thought would be awesome. And you know what? It is awesome! And my idiot friends who said they watched Madness Combat and thought it was boring are liars, and they loved it too. We're gonna skip ahead now a bit to 2012. Madness Combat has already become an established franchise at this point, and the original 2 creators, plus 1 programmer, Michael Swain, and an additional composer, Devin Martin, had decided to make an official Madness video game. Madness Project Nexus. Wait, what? That's right, there's actually 2 Madness Project Nexuses. The original is now called Madness Project Nexus Classic, and it's actually still free to play on Newgrounds, though this version still seems pretty fucked up. Bodies disappear when you kill them, and some of the text is just black, and against a black background, you can't actually read it. I'm sure there's a Flash game archive out there with this game on it, and in fact, that's what I used to play it. It's seriously pretty fun, I would recommend. Anyway, we're gonna hurry through this game so we can get onto Project Nexus 2. Basically, we are here to stop Project Nexus, whatever that is, and to do it, we'll need the help of some old buddies, Sanford and Deimos. Things are left pretty vague as to what Project Nexus is and how the other 2 were captured, but that's not really the main focus here. The gameplay is pretty good even all these years later. It really embodies the animations pretty well. Enemies drop their guns when they die, and they always have however many bullets they used gone from the magazine. This enforces a quick frenetic playstyle where you're rushing over to the best gun that was dropped, using that all up, chucking it at a guy, and repeat. It sounds simple, but it's actually surprisingly addictive. The story is already pretty light. You're mostly just going from level to level killing dudes. But in addition to that, I couldn't get past this big guy. I'm not really sure what's damaging him and what isn't, and a single hit from his big stick thing does like half my health bar, so I guess the mysteries of Project Nexus will never be uncovered. Please play this game seriously. Oh, also I should mention that the music in this game, just like the show, is fantastic. Next is the arena mode. You name your character and we're thrown straight into the menu. Here you can level up your character, buy new equipment, and hire teammates to fight alongside you. Whether you beat a wave or die, you still get money and XP, so you're always pushing forward. Though if you do die, you will be sent all the way back to wave 1 and have to build your way back up to the wave you died on. The waves get more and more difficult the further you go, obviously, and eventually these big guys will show up and you have to melee them a couple of times to knock their helmet off to damage him. It's pretty fun and addictive, further unlocking new weapons and armors as you progress. And if you find an enemy with a cool weapon in a wave, you can actually grab it when the wave ends and take it with your character. I don't particularly remember my personal best, but I know I at least got over level 30 because I remember trying out the zombie mode as a kid. Download this game and see how far you can get. Put a comment in the comments below. Now, when making a big old video review like this, obviously I had to do my research. So I found 4 other video reviews of this game on YouTube, all varying in quality and attention. To get a better idea of the YouTube discourse surrounding this game, I watched all of them. The first one we're going to start with is Mr. Silver Flame's video. Great guy, Silver Flame, love him, love that guy. So I watched the video, right? And it was just a recap of the entire game story. Like just the whole game. Like, just not even like any gameplay mechanics or like the arena mode even. He gave it an 8 out of 10, so he's good in my book. Oh, all right, get out of here. Get out of here. Our next video is from my main man, Roku. Let's see what he has to say about it.
Hello everybody, it's me, Roku. Now I'm mainly known for making League of Legends videos.
So he actually starts the video with a bit of a hot take. Which we'll get into those in the next one. He says he started making this review because he was sick of all these big like reviewing corporations like IGN and, well, that's the only one he lists, are more concerned with, oh, if a game is making a brave artistic statement than if it's actually being fun.
That I can bring up the perspective of the player, the gamer. And this is a perspective that is unfortunately just ignored by the more mainstream reviewers, like IGN and such. Those kind of guys, the game journalist sort, just treat video games like art. And that's not a bad thing per se, but it seems that people prefer video games to be art over being actually good video games, right? If a video game makes a brave artistic statement, but it is also a piece of shit to play, it's a piece of shit video game, like objectively, because the purpose of the game is to be played, and these game journalists don't really do that justice.
Oh, how little you know. Do you know how much I've sacrificed? Huh? Do you know how much of my precious time I've whiled away? Do you have even the slightest inkling of my struggles? Do you even understand that? Do you think you're so big? You think you're so tough, but you're not. You think you're so big and tough, but you're not. You're not.
This game is basically a 2.5D beat 'em up that is set in Nevada.
He says it's a 2.5D game. 2.5D. It's a 3D game. It's a 3D model. It's 3D. It has 3D models. It's 3D. 2.5. Fuck off.
Where guys with these weird pluses on their heads beat, stab,
No,
slash,
they're not
bash,
pluses.
and
They're like
out of each other.
like the guidelines. Like of the face, like how you set up a drawing. Okay, now I just look douchey. Let's move on. This guy actually brings up a lot of good points in his video. Some that I'm going to be stealing and using in this video. So I'm not gonna talk about him. Great guy, Roku. Love this guy. Love him.
The visuals of the game aren't really the best because there is quite a bit of jankiness to it. Things are weirdly shaped and whatnot. It is an adaptation of a 2D anime series to a 3D game, so obviously it's not going to look great. But this weird look of the game is probably the most...
Listen, you just crossed a line right there, okay? That's a fucking art style, and it's beautiful. Are you seeing it? Shut up!
I've spent the entire video telling you how cool it is that the game has such deep combat, but unfortunately, the game doesn't really do a very good job of teaching you any of it at all.
Yes! Thank you! Thank you! You throw me out, but you keep pulling me back in!
The music is inconsistent, but just great, in my opinion. It's mostly mediocre.
Oh, okay. How do I How do I, like, kill a person? Alright, good video, Roku. You said a lot of good stuff, but you said a lot of bad stuff, too. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, next one. Here we got,
Let's take a trip down memory lane for a second here. Remember stick page?
we're just gonna skip this guy. I'm sorry. Next one, please. Alright, we have one last review left. Let's check it out. Madness Project Nexus, a critical review. Oh, this better be a good one. It's only 4 minutes long, so we'll see. Oh, they're gonna have like a little intro.
Make you have to let loose.
What the fuck?
Have you ever seen a you take 9 with the
Why is this supposed to be the intro to the video?
Put that on the Bible, boy, count your blessings. Put that on the Bible, boy, count your blessings. Put that on the Bible, boy, count your blessings.
How do you even... It's so long! The zoom in! The video's almost a quarter of the way over now! What the fuck is this?
Luckily, because of your past, you can have someone assist you.
I don't even know what I'm looking at.
These motherfuckers went and summoned a nigga. I swear to never let a man's hand take me to my grave, nigga. Unfortunately, torture like organized spray, nigga. Get up with the 9, that's fine. They wanna make a nigga do it. So I'ma take the carbine and put it to your mouth. You gotta bring it like a hook.
Not even a review, it's just a fucking... Just made a montage! Call it a review! We're done, that's it. Why did he call it a critical review? It's just a montage. Fuck. Oh my god. It's still going. It's not even done yet. I don't need... He just has this shitty rap song. Fuck. Oh my god. Okay. No. That's gonna be it. Oh my god. Oh wow.
Affected you.
That really affected me. I wasn't expecting it to be that funny like the 4th time I've seen it. Oh my god. I only made it halfway through before I had to stop it.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Before we start, I'd just like to say that Madness Combat has been a big part of my life ever since middle school. I may have came into the party late, but it still affected me a lot. I just really wanted to thank Crinkles and Cheshire for the great series that they made. It's really changed me, and I don't think I would be who I am today if I hadn't grown up with their stuff. They have given me a lot of great memories with my friends and my brother. We even tried making our own animations before and after school on our shitty laptops every day. I just really want to thank the Project Nexus team for, well, making a good game. It was a blast playing it and reviewing it for this video, and I genuinely think it might be one of the best games ever made. Keep watching, you'll find out. So thank you, and to the rest of the community, you guys are just awesome. Be you an artist, a composer, or an animator, you guys are what makes this community special. It's been a really long 7-year wait for this game, But finally, I can say, welcome to Nevada. Now, when starting with a game review, I think it's best to start from the beginning. I know, right? I'm a genius. The game has a tutorial mission and, well, you know how game reviewers usually save their biggest, most profound point for the end of the video? Well, let's talk about this tutorial mission. This tutorial mission has the two problems of not teaching enough of the game's mechanics to the player so that they'll have to be introduced later mid-game, and that the stuff it does teach the player is in a way that's clunky and confusing and ultimately doesn't teach the player much of anything, even on the stuff it does try to teach you. So you play this mission as Hank in the past, which is a cool idea actually. It kinda sorta introduces the two main antagonists from the original animated series. But anyways, you climb up this ladder and are introduced to the main combat systems. So you have a light attack, strong attack, and a super attack. And the game teaches you this by having you go through 3 different segmented off sections of this roof and kill these guys. However, all of your attacks kill them instantly, which accidentally teaches the player that your 3 variations of melee attacks are equal and should be treated as such. And, well, honestly, there isn't really much of a reason to do anything else but spam the light attack. But this game does give you some reasons to use these extra stronger moves on different enemy types. If you use your strong attack with a melee weapon on a zombie and perform a crit attack, which the tutorial doesn't even cover either, you can insta-jib it in a single swing. And later with the shield guys who can annoyingly block your gunfire and melee attacks, if you charge up a super attack while waiting for them to get close and then release the button when they wind up for a swing, you can land the super attack on them and fling them into the air and then wail on them while they're on the ground. So these stronger moves do have utility later on in the game, but the player is taught that other than looking cool and taking a long time to charge up, they are practically interchangeable. So why use the stronger attacks when you can just unlock an enemy with the light attack? And once your player does get to those zombies or those shield guys, they'll have a tougher time with them because they weren't taught the utility of those stronger moves. In the next room, we're taught how to operate mechanisms like buttons and levers, open containers, pick up weapons, and drop them. Simple enough. After that, this is where we learn about the stun mechanic. It's a fine mechanic by itself, but like most things, it isn't taught very well to the player. We walk into this room and see these 3 agents standing still with these blue spirals over their head. When you get close, they are marked with a big red highlight and you can press E to do a takedown on them. And then this big guy falls through the ceiling, also with a blue spiral, but you can't press E on him. This is because you have to circle around to the back of him to do the takedown. So what has this taught the player? Enemies can be stunned, which you can take advantage of by doing a takedown, and you can only perform takedowns on bigger enemies from behind. Alright, good, but how do you cause stun on an enemy? To this day, I still don't know. Flashbangs can be used to, instead of doing an area of effect explosion damage, cause stun to nearby enemies. But you can cause stun through melee attacks. I've seen it happen, and I don't know how the fuck to do it. You know, if only there was like a tutorial I could play to teach me these things. Another big thing is how these bigger guys can only be taken down from behind, but how do you cause stun on them? Well, it's actually pretty simple. After you do enough damage to them, they'll do a pummel attack and have their back open for a few seconds afterwards, which is fine. It's clearly enough communicated to the player in normal gameplay and doesn't particularly need it to be tutorialized. But what it doesn't tell you is that some of these big guys wear bulletproof armor. These guys cannot take damage through melee or firearms. In order to damage them, you have to first melee them a couple of times for them to do their pummel attack, and then you can run over to their back and take their helmet off. But this isn't taught to the player. When these guys are introduced, you could just empty all 3 of your mags of all of your guns into him, not knowing you can't damage him. Or even worse, you could waste your precious grenades thinking that's the only way to damage him. You don't even necessarily have to put this in a tutorial. It would just be as easy as having a dialogue box pop up mid-battle that says, "Hey, all my bullets are bouncing off. How do we get through his armor?" And then Deimos is like, "Whack him a couple of times and maybe you'll get pissed," or something like that. Just anything is better than nothing. Listen, this is fine, having a tutorial mission and all, it works, but I just can't shake the feeling that there's a much better way to teach your player how to play the game. One that doesn't make you sit through a billion tutorial rooms to learn how the game works. And one that you already do in your own game. You know about as much as I do. This isn't any character we've seen in the animation or the original Project Nexus, at least with how far I got before giving up. But he seems powerful and menacing. Probably a bad guy. And now we start playing the game. Starting off on a good foot, car chase and battle on the back of a truck? Objectively the best way to open your game about finding the most brutal and disgusting way to obliterate the Grey Penis Men. Now here's actually where my biggest problem with the tutorial comes into play. The whole thing is actually completely unnecessary, because the game teaches you how to play it in the first level. What's the first thing you do in the game? Beat up a dude in hand-to-hand combat. What's the first thing you do in the tutorial? Beat up some dudes in hand-to-hand combat. What do you do in the literal next room? You learn how to open containers and pick up weapons. What do you do immediately after killing that guy in the first level? And then right after that, you open a container and pick up another weapon. The most offensive thing about the tutorial is that the game re-teaches you how to play it in the very first level of the game. So this begs the question, why does the tutorial mission exist? Listen, you almost already had it! Teach the player how to play the game as they play the game! Alright, if we're talking about tutorials, we have to talk about the master of establishing complex gameplay mechanics in a simple and economic manner. Anyways, in Yakuza 1... Whoa, was that like a time jump or something? God, I don't remember anything from the last hour and a half. I suddenly have the intense urge to play a Yakuza game. After Sanford crashes the truck, we start, guess what? Another fucking tutorial level! Ah! The first thing we learn actually wasn't something that was even in the tutorial. Stealth takedowns. It's exactly what you think it is. Press E on a dude with his back turned to you. Oh, but fear not, dear player. We're going to be introducing the mechanics of the game in an economical way as you play the game, or just jump straight into the action since you probably already played the tutorial mission. We're gonna go right back to going over the tutorial mission again. Hold on, what was the next room? Taking out the stunned guys and then learning how to throw? And yes, your eyes are not mistaken, I did just throw a lead pipe at this man so hard it lodged itself inside his face. This is the best game ever made. Okay, I already have like an entire page on this level. I'm not going to be spending this long on every level after this, but this level still has some moments I want to touch on before we continue. Like this one.
Oh no!
And then they teach you that sometimes you may have to destroy power boxes to activate mechanisms, just like in the tutorial mission. So you kill a bunch more bandits, progress through the camp, and oh look, there's the agency. Unlike in the animation, the AAHW is actually somewhat of a force to be reckoned with. The base agents have advanced movesets and pretty good aim as well. But the main trouble point are these dudes, engineers. And actually, something funny happens with these guys when they're introduced to you. Did you see how this guy sidestepped my shots even though I was aiming right at him? And what's this bar that came up below him? That, my friend, is attack bar. If you've been paying attention to the HUD, then you'd know that you have one as well. Basically, the attack bar meter goes down when you get shot. If you have some juice in the meter, shots that normally would hit you, you dodge instead. This guy's attack bar is green, which when we go to the arena mode, you'll know is a weaker version of the one that you have. So he can dodge 1 or 2 shots before it's all drained and he becomes a sitting duck. I'm just gonna come out and say it, I love this feature, and I think it's genius. It makes tougher enemies more of a threat without just increasing their HP, and it turns firefights with stronger opponents into a race to see who can deplete the other's attack bar the fastest. It turns something that's become boring and formulaic, click on the bad guy to win, into an incredibly engaging dance of movement and agility, and the cherry on top? The critical attack. The critical attack is a fucking fantastic feature, not even told to you in the tutorial mission or the real level, but is hidden away in a fucking loading screen hint. Okay, you're doing this on purpose now. You might have noticed that some of my melee attacks have been crit attacks. So how do you pull off a crit? If you press the attack button exactly as your initial attack makes contact with your target, the attack does extra damage. With the light attack, this just comes down to spamming left click. And since the first hit of your combo comes out so fast, you can basically just double click at the start of a battle to get a free crit attack. But as I mentioned before, in order to kill zombies efficiently, you have to use your crit attack in combination with your heavy attack. Each heavy attack has a long windup, so killing zombies in this way requires skill and timing to pull off. You can also do this with super attacks, which is just hilarious. And not only that, but pulling off a crit on an enemy will recharge your attack bar faster. Speaking of attack bars, did you know that guns also have crit attacks? This little green cone right here is called the sweet spot. And it's the best fucking feature of any shooter I've ever played. You can kill enemies normally with any gun from any range, but if you shoot them in the sweet spot, they explode into a giant and meaty mess as their brain particles fly every which way. It's lovely. And the icing on the cake of this whole feature is how crit attacks deal with the attack bar. Some late game enemies have fucking insane attack bars. Like, they be dodging a full fucking mag dump and not even taking a scratch. But if you keep this enemy in the sweet spot while you shoot them, your bullets do double attack bar damage. I'm not exaggerating here when I say that this is the single best mechanic I've seen in a third-person shooter. The melee crit attacks are a good test of the player's reaction speed, and the gun crit attacks are a good test of the player's positioning and movement skills. They literally saved this game from being a mediocre dumpster fire. If any of you beautiful people who made this game are watching this, you deserve some thanks for this one. Amazing job. Anyways, after this, they teach you how to throw grenades. From this point on, every mission you're going to do is connected by a few different hub worlds, with enemies to fight, items to pick up, and a couple missions to play each. On your first playthrough, you have to do every mission in a predetermined order, but you can always go back and play any mission you've already beaten. This first tutorial mission leads you to your first hub world, the Outskirts. Here, the bandits roam, looking for a fight, and there's even a basketball court. I think now would be a good time to bring up the OST for this game. otherwise known as the Second Coming of Christ. Even the main menu theme is pretty good. It doesn't really stand out to me other than just being, pretty good. But this song does come back later in a more evolved version, so I just wanted you to hear it before we move on. I'm not really sure what genre these would all be in. I'm no Grimbeard. Some kind of drum and bass techno thing, I don't know. I know literally nothing about music, which is why I like the Utopia soundtrack. In order to get inside the city, we first need to turn off these spotlights so that the snipers will have a harder time hitting us as we approach the wall. So we head into a nearby power plant to shut off the power. The first half of this level is mostly just snooping around the facility, reading lore if you so wish, and puzzle solving. Though using the word puzzle here really is a disservice to actual puzzles. We eventually get to the generator room and, oh look, it's Richie from the animation, from when he was on like the poster and like the employee of them. Okay. After we shut down the power though, the AAHW attacks, and their awesome spooky theme plays as we fight our way back out of the power plant. This is where we're introduced to the Soldats, an enemy who has a fucking bonkers tack bar identified by their single yellow monocle. Thank God we only ever fight one at a time in this level. In this mission we meet the sheriff, protecting the outer wall of Nexus City. Wait, are we not going to explain, that at all? Anyways, the first boss of the game is this giant man with big hand. Bandits will come out of the sewers or hop over the fence to start attacking you while you try to deal with him. Once his health gets low enough, he'll start picking up debris and throwing them at you. Oh, but it doesn't look like it actually hits any of the enemies. That would have been cool. Lure giant mans into attacking little bandits to get them out of your way. Man, I really wish they would have... And when he gets down to his last 2 corpus, he starts picking up the street lamps. Oh yeah, these are corpus, by the way. I should probably talk about this game's health system. Basically, you can take a certain number of hits before your corpus breaks, but this corpus recharges when you aren't taking damage, and can recharge faster if you do damage to other enemies. The only way to repair a broken corpus is with a medkit. Just throw a lead pipe at this man so hard it lodged itself inside his face.
Good morning, Dr. Kristoff. Have a safe and pleasant day.
Bacon, bacon. Hey, Kristoff!
Keep your voice down. We're taking a big risk meeting out in the open like this.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold your horses there, partner. This was your idea. Why'd you call me out here anyway? Is it finally happening?
Yes, my old friend. The time is nearly upon us. Walk with me.
So, this is the industrial sector, eh? Why here? What's so special about this place?
Beyond these battlements lies a veritable fortress. It is a self-sufficient sector capable of producing unlimited provisions. It will outlast any siege, especially the one we are about to provoke. In addition, the employees of Merc are independent contractors. They hold no loyalty for Director Phobos or his corruption. They may make excellent allies when the city falls.
And do you reckon they're gonna posse up and listen to me? Why would they?
You have a reputation across Nexus City. The people here trust you. You can sway them to our cause.
Well, I don't reckon they'd trust me if they knew what we were about to do to them.
Revert your attention from that eventuality. This city is doomed. Whether Phobos smites this place to ruin or we do, it makes no difference.
If you say so, Hoss. I'll get to work on them Merc boys and wait for your signal before pulling the trigger on all this. What's the, signal again?
You will know.
This is the second hub world, the industrial sector. It's full of angry grunts and these dual-wielding crazy dudes itching for a battle. The level covers just a block of city street with broken down cars in the streets and hidden weapons for you to find. You might notice now that we have an AI companion and... oh boy! I know, that companion AI is the stupidest thing ever to complain about. I mean, it's so difficult to get right in the first place. That's why it sucks in most games. But here, it's so bad. When it's actually functioning, your companion will sometimes just rush into a crowd of enemies, even if they have a gun, and it would make more sense for them to keep their distance. They often have no situational awareness and will just let enemies gang up on them while they try to attack the one guy that they're locked onto. Sometimes they won't even pick up any weapons, even if they're standing in a pile of a million hammers and swords. And oftentimes you'll find them walking around with the same gun in their hands that's been empty for the past 10 minutes. And that's just when the AI works. Oftentimes they'll just stand there in the corner and literally not move, sometimes while being attacked and not doing anything about it. All of these aspects lead to the player having to babysit their AI companion. It helps when there are more of them because it matters less when Sanford walks past a room with automatic rifles and katanas empty-handed when Jesus has an anti-material rifle in his hands. But if it's just you and another dude, it's... yeah, babysitting. You're either constantly commanding your AI buddy to move when he gets stuck or just sits in the corner and lets people attack him, or constantly switching between the two to keep the other out of danger. And since your AI buddy has no sense of self-preservation, they're constantly on low health, and due to this low health, constantly need to be revived. This is especially egregious in boss fights because what little help your companion can provide is often necessary when playing on higher difficulties. I should mention that, obviously, all of these problems go away when you have someone else to play with you. There's no online mode, but you can plug in a controller and have a friend join you as the other character. Actually, funny little side note, hilariously, if you're on one of the solo levels and playing as Hank and join in as a second character, the game will spawn you as White Hank, or Wank as I like to call him. Oh, her, sorry. This is actually a little bit of MC fan lore. There's a fan character called White Hank who is a girl, and I looked, and there's no R34 of her. Which changes right now!
Donate to the Patreon.
Before we jump straight into the sheriff's base, we gotta shut off the surrounding security systems to get inside. This is where we're properly introduced to these Zerker guys who like to dual-wield spiked baseball bats. Also introduced are these foreman enemies. These guys are basically just like the engineers. They have attack bar and don't go down as easily as the other grunts. We end this level by finally figuring out how to swap characters. After a full fucking level, it turns out that Deimos is the resident hacker of the group, so only he can hack stuff. Now that the security systems are down, we need to find some explosives to bust open the door to the sheriff's base. Despite this being another level with a shitty AI buddy, it does have the third best song in the game. These big guys with the dual Uzis are introduced. Pretty straightforward. Shoot them until they dead. Here is Church and George. One of them is a close-up melee beast with electric gauntlets, while the other hangs back on the platform and shoots you with a sniper rifle. It's a fun and dynamic battle, but obviously less fun when your teammate has 0 brain cells. With the bombs we secured from the last level, we blow up the entrance to the station fortress, where we battle with more goons in an attempt to reach the sheriff. Oh, a big thing here, whenever you see these storage rooms, always go in them. They usually have a giant stock of weapons and throwables, so make sure to stock up before continuing. Oh yeah, these sniper dudes are introduced. Funny story about them, in this room you have to kill them to progress, but I couldn't reach him. There's no way to get up there, and you can't physically aim up there. The game does try and hint at it by having a box to refill your throwables, so yeah, maybe this one is just on me. This level has a lot of fire and conveyor belts. Fighting alongside all the environmental hazards is fun and interesting. After a couple more rooms, we finally make it to the boss. You can kill the snipers on the other side, but you can't damage the sheriff himself. The only way to damage him is by dropping these boxes on his head. One lever sends the boxes over and the other drops it on him, which is a lot easier said than done when you have a brainless teammate. The theme for this one though is absolutely banging! After hitting him 3 times, he escapes off to the roof, and you follow in pursuit. This is a fun little segment where you have to kill enough dudes for one of them to drop some C4 and then blow up the sheriff's barricade, all while he's also trying to shoot you. I said that like it was supposed to be sarcastic, but I mean, it's Project Nexus combat. You literally can't get any better than this. You finally catch up to him and corner him on the roof. Boss fight time! It's pretty underwhelming, actually. You can pretty much just stun lock him with your melee light attacks. If you actually had a gun though, it would be pretty fun. He runs around and ducks behind cover, poking out to take pot shots at you. It's fun! This is until me and Deimos cornered him and proceeded to beat the shit out of him. And now on to the next hub world. If this feels like it's going fast, it's probably because this video is already 50 minutes long.
Give them no ground, men! Hold your positions! Hold the street! Move, move, move!
Go! Secure yourselves within the industrial sector. The city is lost.
Nexus Unit Tango, reporting. We've discovered the traitor. Give us the kill order. Over. Command is screwed. Let's get out of here. Pull back. Run!
There you are.
Oh no, Kristoff, oh no. What have we done?
You knew the cost of our decision. That madman Director Phobos had to be stopped. He left us with no other choice.
Jeez, he's actually dead? Like, really dead?
It is done. The Keystone Fragment is in my possession, and Project Nexus is finished.
We put so many years into the project, only for it to end like this? I can't believe it's all over, Kristoff.
Oh, our work is far from over, my old friend. Ending the project was only the beginning. I must now journey deep into Nevada and thwart the agents of the madness before it consumes this world. Should I fail at this task, all will be lost. Watch this city until my return, Hoffner. Nevada depends on us now. We are its keepers.
I've got this. I'll keep it together while you're gone.
This hub world is a bunch of connected rooftops crawling with more bandits. It's pretty fun to find your way around, dropping bridges and finding alternate routes, and these little scribbles on the ground are really useful for when you already recorded this whole section and the footage didn't have any audio, so you had to load up your New Game Plus save file and replay the missions you missed. On our way to the center of Nexus City and thus the Science Tower, our way to the center of Nexus City and thus the Science Tower is through the mining sector. Time to find an entrance to the lower parts of the city. For this level, we travel indoors and between buildings fighting off bandits. These ones use a lot of makeshift weapons like planks with nails, wood pallet shields, just like literal pieces of scrap, you name it. They also throw daggers at you. They like to use this as their opening move, and for some reason they all have Scottish accents? Since these bandits don't have access to very many firearms, you're mostly going to be getting acquainted with the melee weapons enemies drop. And also, I really like the track for this level. The bandits in this area have this zone locked up tight. Turns out to get to the mining sector, we'll have to travel through the streets of the city below. This is the first zombie level. You'll be fighting a mix of both bandits and zombies, but mostly just hordes of zombies. You want to use as many grenades as you can here. And also that strong crit attack I was talking about earlier is extremely helpful here. Not too far into the level, we get this cool elevator sequence. So we get this cool elevator sequence where we have to wait for the elevator and then defend it while riding it down. After we hit the streets, we're introduced to these motion sensors. If you or a zombie gets within the radius, they'll go off and attract a bunch of zombies to the area. So basically just navigating through a maze of zombies and sensors. Easy. Just one big problem. This guy. Nah, he's actually fine. The devs mercifully coded him to avoid the sensors. At least we don't have to worry about that. Thank God. Actually, a funny little glitch happens here. The takedown animation you do on the bosses has you jump up in the air to hit them, since they're much taller than you. But the animation only lands you back on the ground at the same level that the boss is standing on. So if you do it on a slope like this...
That stings! Come here!
Gil is a meh fight. It's really the only one in the game that I'm not all that thrilled about. Except for this one, we'll fucking get to this one. He runs around and throws hamburger patties at you and does a fast frenzy attack if you get too close. Get his health down low enough and he'll start making laps around the kitchen, destroying anything in his path, including other zombies. It especially doesn't help that there aren't too many fun guns to use during this fight. Other than those, it's fine, I guess. Wow. I really can't say anything bad about this game, huh? This is the mission where we're finally making our way down to the mining sector. Our shortcut to the center of the city. Bandits, zombies, and madness, oh my! Special secret, not too many people know about this one, but this is actually the first level where you get access to the strongest weapon in the game. The broom. Oh, not you again. Yeah, this guy's back, and he's pretty much just the same fight, but with Sanford and Deimos this time. When he attacks, rocks fall from the ceiling, so I guess that's new. Hey, Sanford actually did something for once. Good job, buddy. Good tip with this game, make sure to read the dialogue boxes. I didn't, and on my first playthrough, I was in this room for about 15 minutes before I saw the infinite combat lock at the top right of the screen. It literally gave me so many fucking things to tell me that I needed to do something other than just kill these guys to progress the section, but I didn't see any of them. Probably because I was just jamming to the song. You guys again? 2 reused boss fights in the same level? Church is largely unchanged, except that he has an energy ball attack now that tracks you around, so you have to outmaneuver it to escape. George at this time is wielding a flamethrower and a shield. If you have a gun, make sure to run around to his back, and don't attack him with a melee weapon from the front. He's he's got a fucking flamethrower. This time, some Zerkers and scouts show up to help, which is especially useful when the scouts exclusively drop long-range rifles. Sanford actually got stuck here. So much for making up for yourself by killing the big guy earlier, you jackass. Luckily, we don't actually need him to progress. We just need to turn on all of these levers and then hack this thing. Luckily, it wasn't Deimos that got stuck. You might notice I'm putting a little more effort into explaining each level. This is because at some point you just have to accept that I'm writing an hour-plus long video here. And then I have to voice all of this. And then edit it all together. And then I have to make that fucking animation for the intro. And then I gotta make that Rule 34.
Dr. Hoffner will be waiting for me nearby.
Loitering is a punishable offense. Touching the director's statue is strictly prohibited.
Hiya, Kristoff. You ready?
All preparations have been made. The sheriff is in place. Our time has come.
And we're sure there's no other way?
We cannot know when Director Phobos will unleash Project Gestalt. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. But if we do not find the courage to act immediately, if we are too late to thwart him, we will not survive the consequences of our restraint.
I know, old friend, I know. I'm just going to miss this place is all.
This city was always doomed, Hoffner. It falls upon our shoulders to bring it to its inevitable conclusion. Take me to the deep storage access, and let us wash our hands of this dreadful business for all time.
Please enjoy the commercial district responsibly, citizen.
This passageway will sneak you past the major security checkpoints. With your clearance being revoked by the director, I would avoid being detected if I were you.
Thank you for doing this. I will find you on the other side, after I have unleashed Armageddon upon this wretched site. If I'm discovered, Director Phobos will know I'm coming. That must not occur. I should take this.
What is that, like a rock or something? Hey, you all need to get a load of this rock, over. Yeah, it looked like a rock or something.
These units aren't quite done. Let them cook another few days. Say, wait a minute. What if it was like 2 soda cans?
What's the problem over there? Alright, break's over. Time for a perimeter sweep. This is the spot. Command says it's a weak link in our defense grid. Think you can secure it? Are you kidding me? Let's go fetch my welder. We'll have this breach locked down in no time.
This is it. No turning back now.
Something wrong, Dr. Kristoff?
Not anymore.
Oh, hey, Jim. Jim? It's sort of a little stormy outside right now. Oh no, you might hear that during the recording. Here we have my favorite hub world in the game, the commercial district. We actually start this area not looking for the next mission, but searching for Dr. Kristoff's notes. This says something about some sleepwalker program, and this Dr. Phobos guy again. Interesting. And who are these employers? Haven't we heard of them before somewhere? This also mentions a secret passage somewhere behind a wall light. I guess we'll look for that as well.
That lousy bastard. Phobos isn't shutting down Plan Z even after I explained the risks to him. Permanently binding an S3LF to a body isn't just logical sacrilege, it's going to corrupt the whole divergence process. I don't like where Project Nexus is headed. We're supposed to be saving the world here. When did it become about keeping costs down and profits up? I'm coming over to discuss this with you in person. Did you already fix the secret button behind the wall light so I can buzz myself in? I can't believe it. Director Phobos is finally going to push forward with our Sleepwalker program. I haven't got him on record stating that he intends to retire Plan Z, but now that we've given him a viable alternative to infectious zombies, we can get Project Nexus back on point. I'm putting together a manifesto for the director on why Plan Z needs to go. I'll leave a copy for you at your office entrance inside Angerware.
We enter the Project Nexus Asylum in hopes of finding Dr. Hoffner's office to look for a leads. What the fuck? In hopes of finding Dr. Hoffner's office to look for leads on how to shut down Project Nexus itself. This is the level where we're introduced to the turrets. They suck. On my first playthrough, it took me like 15 minutes to get past this section. All I wish was that it was a little more clear that you can just walk right past them. Alongside this level introduces two more annoying enemies. These mental patient guys who at first are in a straitjacket and can only rush at you and kick you, or headbutt you up close, but once you kill them, they jump back up and can use their hands now. Listen, when I was writing the script for this, I went in on these guys. Like, I fucking hated these enemies, but like watching over my footage and playing the game again, honestly, they're not too bad. I don't know why I had such a fucking ginormous hate boner for these guys when I was writing the script during my first playthrough, but now they're not too bad. Honestly, they're a fine enemy. It's just when they're paired with the second guys, things can get a little iffy. The second enemy are these needle gun guys who shoot these toxic needles at you, which make the screen go all goopy and makes you move and attack slower. These guys are generally fine. They provide a good target to start out the battle and take down first, but when they're paired with the straitjacket guys who also open the battle by rushing at you, it can get very tedious to deal with these guys. Oh, this reminds me of something that I wanted to bring up earlier. When searching through containers, sometimes you'll come across something that you want to pick up, but instead the prompt to pick something else next to it comes up. So with weapons, this will usually force you to throw whatever weapons are around you and also in the container away, just to make the prompt for the weapon that you want to grab pop up. And you can't throw throwables like you can weapons, so if you find a set of grenades you want to pick up surrounded by other throwables, you have to awkwardly swap with the other throwables the game is forcing you to pick up while stepping away from the container so you can actually grab the one that you want. This is a really dumb problem that has a really easy solution, and you don't even need to mess with the priority of the item prompt pickups. Basically just be able to scroll through a menu of items you can pick up in the environment. The first example of this to come to mind would be Darkwood. You can hold E and use the scroll wheel to cycle through items, if one item is on top of another. For Project Nexus, say there's a bunch of items around you to pick up, and you can have the pickup prompts with the name, durability, ammo, etc., and then you can have an up and down arrow on the side. Then you can hold Q and use the scroll wheel to select which one you want to pick up, and then you're good.
I'll be expecting my paycheck within 4 to 6 business days, Mr. Crinkles.
So this level is kinda not really good, but it makes up for it by, well,
Day 12. Even if Kristoff finds a way to bring S3LFs back to Nevada from the other place, we have no guarantee of the integrity of the S3LF. All of my research tells me it is a place of psychopathic derangement and insanity. I am afraid of what may come of it. Day 118. We are making substantial progress with Project Nexus. Director Phobos has erected a massive gateway directly into the Science Tower, and now we're putting more S3LFs into bodies than ever before. But accessing the other place has yielded some repercussions. A corrupting force I've come to refer to as dissonant reality is warping logic and distorting the mind of anyone who perceives it. I've had to pull my scientists from the tower. Phobos is pissed, but the safety of my guys comes first. Day 402. It works! Dissonant reality can be contained, and I'm the one who figured it out! Using my own patented divergence engine technology, I was able to filter the dissonant reality radiation into simple canisters for storage and processing. This will safeguard the entire process henceforth. Now to find a way to hide this discovery from that bastard Phobos. From here on out, I'm going to have to be extremely careful. The moment he finds out I've solved the dissonant reality crisis, he'll weaponize the whole process. And that's going to make my job a bit tricky.
This boss fight is fun as fuck. Both you and Jesus are pretty equally matched. In fact, if I had slipped up even a little bit, I would have been the one who bit the dust in the end. One really cool addition is that Jesus can actually force grab weapons in the environment. The reason I left this clip in of me opening this trunk with a shotgun in it is because at the end of the fight, he grabs it after I dodge one of his kicks, and it's actually the thing that helped him almost win. I've found these equally matched boss fights like this in the Sheriff are more fun when you have a gun as well. As you saw with the Sheriff, you can just run up to them and smash them to bits if you have a melee weapon, which isn't very fun. Overall, this boss fight is short but sweet.
Very good.
With the help of Jesus, we can finally find Dr. Hoffner and figure out how to shut down Project Nexus. So yeah, now we get to play as Jesus. He has a few unique abilities. Instead of doing a super swing with his super attack, he instead does an AoE ground pound move that can send even stronger enemies into the air when fully charged up. And just like in his boss fight, he can also fly, which substitutes for the dive dodge of Sanford and Deimos or the flip dodge with Hank. He can also grab keycards from a distance, and through fences? Yeah, anyways, Jesus is cool. One other thing I somehow forgot in the script was that Jesus can use these dark matter energy balls as attacks. They replace his usual grenade button, and you can't actually pick up any grenades but can refuel your dark energy ball supply at these dark energy ball supply stations. As you've seen, all of the takedowns on stunned enemies are replaced with him using his psychic powers, which are really fucking badass. Oh yeah, he can also force grab weapons, just like in his boss fight. In what other game can you walk around as Jesus with an assault rifle? I mean, it doesn't get better than this. These are the Oh, these guys are brain-dead test patients with all sorts of machinery and doohickeys strapped to their head. If you thought the straitjacket guys were fun, you'll love these guys. They actually come back twice before finally dying. And when they do, they explode. However, as you've seen, if you can get a crit attack with a strong gun like a shotgun or revolver, you can skip all that and just kill them on the spot. And unlike the zombies, you can't explode their heads with strong crit attacks. They actually aren't as bad as the straitjacket guys, because even with melee weapons, they all just kind of lumber towards you. We go through some more arenas, are introduced to these big guys, fight them a couple of times, and then oh shit! This is the arena room from Project Nexus Classic. Holy shit! Oh, that's so fucking cool. Well, we finally made it to Hoffner's office, and
You stand not a chance. Did I say you could die?
that's right, Hoffner is actually tricky. This is, this right here is the most frustrating segment of this game. As you can see, it's just pure chaos, and it's just as hard to tell what's happening while you're playing it. And on top of that, as normal, you have to constantly keep track of both your characters, because odds are you're going to die, and you have to make sure that the other one is in a good position to switch to and revive you. Now, a minute and 30 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like 5 fucking minutes in the game, which doesn't sound like as much of a hyperbole as it did in my head. Despite all this, I'd be hard-pressed to actually change anything about it. I'm not adverse at all to giving the player a real challenge, but I think that this is just, I don't know, is it too much? It doesn't really feel right to say without more opinions. Speaking of which...
Wait. That's tricky! That's Tricky the Clown right there! We have this clusterfuck of a boss fight. Great. You need to go. After that, Tricky decides to kill Hank and G.
Oh, never mind. Before Tricky kills us, the AAHW makes an unexpected return after not seeing them since the power plant level. Here is the only section where we get to play as Tricky, as he helps fight off the AAHW with us. Below the city streets lies a secret Nexus facility where the keys to the Divergence engine are housed. We acquire these keys and entering the science tower will be a snap. It's more agents, sleepwalkers, scientists, the works. Not really much to discuss here, especially since this video is already so fucking long. More big boy time. He has the same moveset as the first Mag Bandit boss, so not anything new here. Oh my god, these shield guys are introduced. We'll get into them more when later in the script when I remembered that they existed. But just keep them in the back of your head for now. We'll get to them. We make it to the Divergence engine and fight 2 more big guys to get the keys. Taking this last key, we accidentally activate the long-lost Project Nexus secret, Gestalt. You can't damage him with normal weapons, so you have to call the elevator down and then destroy these supports while Hank fruitlessly wails on him.
Going up. So like I was saying, you can't get this sheen with wax. Remember, you can't just be invincible. You gotta look invincible too. Anyway, wanna know what my favorite move is? I like jump into the air and swing 3 times before slamming down to the ground. It's pretty baller. Alright, let me get back into character. Verily, our destination doth... State your business.
Dr. Jebediah Christoph, to see Director Phobos.
Proceed.
Oof! Hey, Christoph. He's really on the warpath today. Maybe don't go out of your way to provoke him.
You approach the command post of his most godly emperorship, Director Phobos.
Hey, Christoph.
You asked to meet with me, Director Phobos.
Have I not been generous to you, Jebediah?
Impressive.
What?
Did I myself not pluck you aimless and feral from the infertile wastes of Nevada and set you to purpose in the noblest of undertakings as the head of my project? And yet, your gratitude, as always, is lacking a trait, as your humility. At every turn, you defy me.
Cease this charade, Phobos. I am tired of it.
Present yourself.
I've watched you scuttle about my city, churning your plots and stoking your own ambitions to take my seat as director. Are you so blind to the inexhaustible loyalty of the Nexus Corps that you think this news would not reach me the very moment of your betrayal?
I have no interest in your seat, Phobos. Only the duties that come with it. The same duties you have neglected, no, undermined, from the instant you began prospecting Project Nexus for profit and power.
I alone was charged by the employers themselves to found this project, to shape it, bend it, and even break it by my will and pleasure as I alone see fit. Under my command, my city flourishes. My soldiers are the deadliest force anywhere in Nevada, and through my brilliance, Project Nexus continues to stave off the absolute destruction of this entire world. Yet, in spite of it all, you continue to prove yourself a menace and a usurper. I demand to know why.
Because I know what you've done, Phobos. I have already seen where this ends. I know everything. Project Gestalt.
stand not a
Did you really believe such a megalomaniacal enterprise would escape my notice? You defy the intentions of the employers, and in so doing, you mean to consume the very world that you pledged to save. Do not deny that you would sacrifice every single person between yourself and godhood to do it.
Your lack of trust in my divine vision has been noted. Effective immediately, your post as lead scientist over Project Nexus has been terminated. Remove yourself from my tower at once, before I regret my leniency.
Heed my words, Phobos. I will not allow you to condemn this world to ruin.
You do as I command, until the day I release you to the other place. Be gone.
Have a nice meeting with the director, Christoph.
Damn you to the other place, you sycophant. Have you no concept of the forces with which you meddle?
The only forces I'll be meddling with are a promotion, a salary bump, and your old office. What do you think of that, wise guy?
Mark my words, crackpot. A reckoning awaits you. This is not the end.
I'll talk as always, Christoph. This is why you're out. Looks like this is your stop. See you around, former lead scientist. Coward.
You stand not a chance.
Unbelievable. You... Absolutely unbelievable.
Christoph?
We have run out of time. It begins now.
This is a pretty meh hub world. It is kinda interesting how it's a bit difficult to navigate, but other than that, not really much going for this one. Also, the track for this hub world is a little bit of a banger. Our way to the center of Nexus City from here is flooded, so we gotta make our way to the water control to lower the water levels.
Coffee.
These are the Fanatics, a whole army of brainwashed cultists who worship this dude they call his buoyancy. They're fun to fight. They throw daggers at you from afar and handle machetes and these crescent hooks up close. And they're always talking about buoyancy and floating and sinking and other unwieldy metaphors for enlightenment. It's weird. They also have an unrivaled hate for Jesus, who they see as a false prophet. Ironic. There's a whole bunch of lore you can read about them in game, but who has the attention span for that anyways? We also meet these white-robed cultists who are like super tanky and have a full tack bar, and to top it all off, they use the same throwy hook that Sanford has. They use the same throwy hook that Sanford has. They're really not a problem if you manage to corner them. This level is basically just exploring around until you find some water, turn a valve, going down where the water was previously preventing access, and then repeat. Wait, so these guys don't like Director Phobos either? Whose side are these guys on? We end this level by battling through a gauntlet of zombies and cultists in this giant room where we have to find different valves to lower the water level so that we can pass through. It's fun, and even more fun to see enemies and your buddy simultaneously dodge off the platform and into the water. This is actually where the kick, which I didn't even mention because it wasn't important at all before this, comes into play. Middle mouse button is your pistol whip if you're holding a gun, but holding down shift and middle mouse does a kick, which ragdolls enemies and sends them backwards. Very useful if you're standing over a toxic pool of acid or whatever this stuff is. Again? You see, the Coos theme was for a reason after all. You all know the drill by now. George this time has a giant electrified trident he can swing around now, which still has the same electro ball attack from his last fight. Church, instead of the flamethrower, now has a goop gun that shoots goop. All of these guys' fights are generally just awesome, mostly because of their awesome theme, which sadly I could only play once in order to make that Coos joke. We got one last valve to turn before we have access to the Science Tower's basement. It should be noted that this is the level with the second best theme in the game. In this level, we meet the Abomination, which is basically the straitjacket guys, but somehow worse. They charge at you and kick you, which ragdolls you and sends you flying, and they have a quick bite attack up close. And just like the straitjacket guys, they have 2 health bars. They aren't too much of a problem on their own, but just like the straitjacket guys, they love to swarm you. Luckily, we aren't fighting them in too many tight corners this time. This level has a unique gimmick, where in certain rooms will be switches to turn on the lights for a short period of time, which makes these Abomination guys run away. But if you know about this ahead of time, you can just run from switch to switch, completely avoiding fighting them at all. After this, we have this amazing section where you walk over these suspended platforms with enemies who like to run up to you and kick you. I actually ran into a bug here the first few times I played this level. Actually, it's not really a bug, it's mostly just the AI, you know, doing its thing. I couldn't get my partner to walk across these platforms that I knew were going to collapse, even if I commanded them to go over to the other side. And if they don't follow you over, they're literally stuck there until they die and respawn with you. Luckily, when I was recording footage for this level, this didn't happen at all.
This domain is mine.
This boss was fucking awesome, and almost has the best theme in the game. This is a cool little train sequence.
I say cool despite the fact that I got stuck on this part for 2 days on my first playthrough.
You're fighting enemies as Gestalt runs out from the back and takes out one of the tram cars. It's fun. And every so often a wall will come up and you have to dodge through it at the right time to come out unscathed. We finally have a way through to the science tower. We just have to find an elevator taking us up to the street level. This is a really good level with a really good song. Here's where we're introduced to the robots. They're slow but hit like a truck. Best to find a gun and shoot them up, or even throw out a grenade if you have any. This is actually a really cool level in terms of progression. We start off at the base of the Nexus facility, fighting off zombies and robots before we gain access to the research quarters, where we fight off scientists with laser pistols and the Nexus agency. Oh yeah, I guess now would be a good time to mention there are actually 2 agencies. The ones with the black shades are the AAHW from the show, even though they also get red shades later in the episodes. Crinkles himself has admitted that he has actually changed his mind about this, hence why they've changed back in the more recent episodes. The ones with the red shades are employed directly by Project Nexus. Now we have to fight through waves of Nexus goons to turn on the elevator so we can ride it up to the surface.
I hope Hank found a way to shut down the science tower, because the Nexus Core will stop at nothing to keep us from doing exactly that.
Don't you get the feeling that we're not getting the whole picture here, though? We keep hearing about these S3LF's dissonance, and some goons called the employers. How does that all fit in?
And Dr. Crackpot's entire religion based around something called the other place? I'm starting to think the sheriff was right. There's a lot more going on here than soldier cloning.
I think so, too. Makes me feel like I have bugs crawling. Oh, never mind. That's what it was.
This fight isn't anything too special. The gimmick of this fight is that the bug will jump up in the air every so often, and you have to get him to land on these little yellow bits that connect the platforms together, and also make sure you don't get hit by the literal kill laser. We're about to exit this level before we're ambushed by Tricky. For some reason though, he changes his mind and starts talking with the 2. He mentions that nothing will matter anyway once the science tower is blown up. After inquiring further, Tricky explains that if Project Nexus doesn't continue, Nevada itself will cease to exist at all.
And the other place is, what, some kind of shook-up soda can waiting to explode?
No, wrong. It's more like 2 soda cans. Duh. It is infinitely more complex than your mushy little gray matter can grasp. You need a special mind to even begin to comprehend.
Yeah, clearly.
Okay, I'll bite. If what you say is true, then how do we shut down the project without dooming everyone?
Figure it out. Anyway, bye.
Well, that wasn't very helpful.
Let us find out what this is all about.
And I'll need you to bust my guys out of containment first. Can I count on you to make that happen?
It won't be a problem.
Dr. Kristoff, come in.
As I expected.
What is he doing here?
Please, we're here for a joint purpose. There's no need to escalate this meeting towards violence.
If violence was not your attention, then why do you invite Hank Wimbledon here?
Because the mission at hand requires it. We're going to terminate Project Nexus, and we need your aid.
Project Nexus? Impossible. Project Nexus is long dead, and with the Keystone Fragment in my possession, it will never operate again.
I hate to ruin your good mood, Kristoff, but Project Nexus survived. We can't explain how, but they're still drawing living energy from the other place.
I already told you that is not possible. Director Phobos was slain by my own hand. I prevented him from engaging Project Gestalt. Without the fragment, the project is finished.
This intel is solid. The Nexus Corps are inadvertently heralding the madness into Nevada, whether they know it or not.
No, I do not care what you believe to be true. You will stay out of Nexus City. That place is forbidden to you.
Jebediah, if we do nothing, Nevada falls. You cannot possibly want that.
But I know what you want, Doc. You crave to advance the efficiency of your ghoulish experiments into death and rebirth. And with the unfinished remnants of Project Gestalt at your fingertips, that is a measure of power no one was meant to possess.
Ghoulish? You weren't complaining last time I stitched you back together from the scattered remains of your own corpse.
None of this matters. You will not be the ones to save Nevada from the perils that await it. Enter my city, and our next words will be at the end of a sword. And as for you, Hank, the conditions by which I would ever choose to work alongside you would be so dire that it would indicate a world no longer worth saving.
So that's a no from Christoph. Is this meeting going somewhere or what?
Let's discuss objectives and parameters. This mission will require finesse.
Yes, finesse. And that rocket launcher. I'm going to need that rocket launcher.
Okay. Almost fucking done with this shit. Oh my god. We've finally made it to the surface, standing before the science tower at last. We reunite with Hank and Jesus and begin the infiltration of the tower. Sanford and Deimos try to reason with Hank, trying to convince him that they need to find another way to beat Nexus Core without stopping Project Nexus. Hank, however, isn't budging. Jesus interrupts, saying that he has a way to shut down Project Nexus. After all, he was the lead scientist on the project.
Can it seriously be done, Christoph? If we get you inside the tower, can you legitimately help us complete our mission without popping Nevada like a giant balloon?
It's more like 2 soda cans, but yes.
The whole gang is finally here. This is the first level where we get to switch between all 3 of the main protagonists. But first, we have to check in.
Oh, welcome! Step right up. Don't be shy now.
We're here to check in, I guess?
Fantastic. Go ahead and sign yourselves in, and you can be on your way.
Just like that? You're not gonna try and stop us?
Affirmative. My job isn't to keep you out. My job is to sign you in.
Well, okay then.
Excellent job on that paperwork. Top-notch signing. You may proceed into the lounge where someone will be with you shortly.
This level is where the game gets the most madness combat it's gonna get. You're shooting wave after wave of dudes, running around and grabbing the guns they dropped, just generally kicking ass. These last couple of levels embody the show perfectly, and it's great. By the way, these purple robots run at you and then explode when they get close. It's a fun addition to the enemy lineup, having to either prioritize the purple robots or manage your distance with them until you can deal with them. And then there's this room. This almost beats the tricky murder room sequence as the hardest room in the entire game. You have to beat up 60 guys with just melee weapons. And, well, you know how the rest goes. This guy's fucking great. He's big and tough and hits just as hard. Plus, he has the best introductory line of any fight scene in any game ever. And he has an absolutely bangin' theme. This level, sucks. I don't know if it's either me being burnt out on madness combat at this point, or if this just level is just so fucking bad that I just died like in real life playing it. I think the thing that's been making all these levels work has been a combination of fun and engaging gameplay, and the hype as fuck soundtrack elevating every encounter into some epic display of badassery. But this level doesn't have either of those things. Okay, well, it's not that bad. It's just these fucking shield guys, dude. Oh, and I finally remembered they existed and figured out why I don't like them so much. Because they stop the flow of gameplay. Anytime you're just moving along, unloading on a group of agents, you run into these shield guys and it's just ugh. So you have to run up to them and melee them, and they start blocking that as well. It really just slows down the game. And then the elevator section. Hank and Sanford have to split up in order to activate this elevator, and well, the AI seems especially prone to failure in this segment. Even just a couple seconds after switching characters, you can see the guy you just swapped out of getting the shit kicked out of him. I assume it's just a case of the AI breaking and standing still again. It's so annoying to have to switch back and forth between them because they just won't move if you aren't controlling them, and then the game makes you do it again! There is actually one fun room in this level, and oddly enough, it's an infinite wave room. You're trapped behind this laser grid while agent goons endlessly spawn behind you, and you have to blow up this electric box to shut down the lasers, and there's an elite agent in front of it. Oh god, I didn't even talk about the elite agents. Basically, they're the engineers and soldats of the Nexus core. So, big tack bar, yada yada yada, moving on. We also find some void energy weapons later on in this level, which are pretty cool. We get to use them in a mini boss fight right after this. This video is so fucking long. Oh, and before I forget, the soundtrack for this level is just bad. It's like not intense enough to get the blood pumping, but still too upbeat to be tense, and it's just bad, and I don't want to talk about this level anymore. There's this cool room where the lights are blinking on and off, and it would have been like a super cool room if I didn't bring the D cannon in with me. Oh my god, the fucking puzzle! There's a fucking puzzle in this room! Talk about ruining the flow of gameplay. Even after 3 playthroughs, I still have no fucking clue how it works. I just keep pressing buttons and they all line up. It sucks. Why? There are literally no other puzzles in the entire game. Like, at all. So why? Why did that feel like you needed to fucking... And then they have you fight a mag boss fight agent, and it's not fun because the soundtrack sucks and there's no fun weapons around to use, and just fighting the big guy alone with melee weapons is boring. And then they do it again. And it sucks just as bad, and it sucks. But then, we get outside into a courtyard. Just then, the AAHW emerge, bringing everything they have for one final showdown against Hank. Unlike the rest of this level, this final section is fucking awesome. They send everything they have at you, except for, thank god, those shield guys. This is about as fun as the game gets, running around trying to get those tougher enemies into your sweet spot, and with the awesome AAHW theme, this is just a great send-off to the organization Hank has been fighting for almost 20 years now.
I think I hear some buster. Yummy.
In this section, Gestalt kills my computer.
What happened actually was the opposite of what usually happens, and the footage actually came out looking better than my actual playing experience. Just imagine this at like 20 FPS and you'll be good.
When the game is actually playable, it's a really fun section where you're managing the smaller enemies, mag agents, and either Gestalt's projectiles or Gestalt himself. I'm just glad the game loads you up with 2 machine guns before this. I chose to save one of them just for this occasion, and yeah, we open up the barricades and we're done with this one. This level has an almost just as shitty theme, but at least it has more going for it gameplay wise. Oh yeah, this reminds me, a weird lighting glitch happened in this level. Everything was insanely bright and bloomed out. So much so that the floor was just entirely white. And actually, some of the character models for dialogue have been bugging out as well. Did I fuck something up? Did I finally push the game to its limits? This is actually a really cool section here. You have to command this little robot guy to go to a couple levers so you can drop yourself another keycard, so Jesus can grab it through the wall again. You see, this is how you break up your gameplay loop, not with a shitty puzzle. Time for a chase scene. After the last level, this is a huge step forward. After this is the more basic Project Nexus shoot 'em up stuff, but it's made better by the fact that we're playing as Jesus. I don't know why, but just something cracks me up about seeing Jesus Christ gunning down some giant dude in armor with an SMG. And then we get to this fight, and well, I'm kind of mixed on it. I like everything surrounding the fight, the setting, the design of the thing itself. Oh, also I figured out what the weird lighting is all about. I noticed that when the helicopter went by outside, the whole room just started glowing white, like in the first room of this level. So it turns out that the game just doesn't render some of the lights if you're on the low or lowest setting. That was still from the Gestalt fight back there. Not that it helped much with the frame rate. Ah, that looks much better. See? This is a cool setup for a boss. The helicopter flying outside and its light flying across the floor, it's cool, but the fight itself is just boring. You can only attack it when its stomach is open like this, so when it isn't open, you're kind of just waiting for it to attack. And the couple of attacks he does have aren't very fun. All of them just boil down to running away from something, and for how simple this fight is, I think it takes a bit too long. Maybe if he had just 5 or maybe even just 4 corpus, this fight would be a lot more bearable. This fight took me 12 minutes, rounding down because I beat him about half a minute before I stopped recording. For reference, this took about as long as the second Mag Bandit boss fight, the AAHW wave, and the Gestalt boss fight all on the previous level. Finally, the final level. At the tippity top of the science tower, we have a museum, oddly enough. We get to read about the cloning program and the Sleepwalker program being attempted to be serialized to the public. They're a neat and humorous addition to the lore, if you care about that certain thing. I certainly didn't, because I knew that whoever was editing this video would just love to read all of them himself and tell you about them. In the next room, we meet these guys, the Lament, who are literally in this single room and then never again appear in the game. Fantastic job, Crinkles. You really knocked it out of the park with this one. I don't know why I find it so funny to pretend that Crinkles was the only one who made this game. Actually, there are quite a few enemies that only have a single room to shine in this level.
Alright, tough guy.
These dog things, which only appear in this one room, and then these big guys too, and then this big robot thing, and then these little arm guys. I don't know, it's just weird to me to introduce so many new things in the last level. And since we're at the museum, we get to read about all the different enemies and all the crazy experiments that they've done at the Nexus. They don't really matter to me. I think I get the gist after playing over 60 hours of this game and watching every episode of Madness Combat and playing the original Project Nexus, but I'll leave them here for you if you want to pause and read them. Alright, I was kind of expecting it at this point. Yeah, let's just get it over with. Come on, guys.
Let's go.
And here we have it, the final battle, finally putting Gestalt in its place. While Jesus powers up the Divergence engine, we have to plug in these sockets into different power outlets on the wall. As long as Gestalt is in front of the cannon when you plug in the last one, The beam renders it vulnerable for a small window where you can damage him and take out one of his corpus. There's rocks falling from the ceiling, tentacles coming out of the ground, and all sorts of wacky stuff. Next phase, Gestalt flies around at a distance and shoots fire and lasers and whatnot at you. They equip you with 3 rocket launchers with infinite ammo, so it's pretty much an even match. Or it would be if Hank and Deimos didn't just stand around watching me fight Gestalt. You've finally taken down Gestalt, time to end it once and for all. Finally, Phobos appears, revealing himself as the actual final boss of the game. Turns out he hasn't actually been dead since Jesus killed him all that time ago. I know this is probably a bad time, but I have something personal I want to tell you. This might be the best boss fight soundtrack I have ever heard. This theme is just so full of emotion and adrenaline. This has to be the most hyped final boss theme of any game I've ever played. It just feels like such a culmination of everything that's led up to this point. And hey, that's also the main menu theme right there. Wait, what's that? Do you hear that? What song is? Oh my God, Mine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Your theme is great. Oh Jesus fuck, please spare me. Ah! With Phobos and Gestalt both taken care of, we can now shut down Project Nexus for real. All right, Jesus, do your thing. We're all counting on you here. Hey, Hank. What do you... No. Hank? No. Please.
Yeah, because between you and me, I was hoping it would come to this. This is pointless. I've killed a god. You don't stand a chance.
Should've listened to us, Hank.
Yeah. Come on. We gotta figure out a way to make sense of this whole mess.
Well, what now?
I'm open to suggestions, buddy.
Alright. Okay, so hear me out. Let's say we were to go to Gills to figure this out.
No.
I'm just saying, I think we could solve the 2 soda cans problem if we were at Gills.
Fella, the 2 of us are not gonna fix Project Nexus on our own. It's over.
So, what happens now?
Beats me. They're not gonna like that we offed Hank. And Hank's not gonna like that we offed him either.
But the world's not blowed up, so there's that.
Yeah, there's that.
And now we are treated to the best credit sequence in all of gaming. I'm not gonna play the whole thing for you here, cause this fucking video is long enough as it is, but I'm at least gonna play you a bit of the theme. It's awesome. And yeah, that's the game. Overall, this was a great experience. I do want to mention a couple of things before we wrap up here. The co-op. I tried playing it with my brother and, for lack of a better term, it was completely busted. We managed to get all the way to the commercial district, but when I tried plugging in my PS5 controller because I couldn't find our PS4 controller, the inputs for player 2 were all scrambled up and there's no way to change bindings for a controller in the game, so that was off the table. I'd like to see text boxes fixed. I get the feeling that they weren't programmed with the maximum height in mind, so some of the text boxes just scroll right on off the top of the screen. I'd love it if some of the more annoying enemies could be reworked, especially those shield guys. I would be fine if they were just completely removed from the game, actually. They just slow the pace of the combat down to a crawl when you have to switch to a melee weapon, wait for them to attack, and then swing at them and hope they don't start blocking again. Maybe if the shields broke after enough shots, which to be fair they do if you're using one of the bigger machine guns, but I literally mag dumped on this guy and fucking nothing happened. Another thing I like is the sense of progression. Even though you aren't getting any new skills, all of the characters' outfits change and get more cooler as the story progresses. Your characters also get more health as they beat new areas. It's a simple and neat touch that didn't really need to be there, but it's a welcome addition. Let's see, the story, though pretty minimal, is at least a good justification to have you murder some great penis men. All the characters are pretty well written. No complaints in that department. This friendly AI has to get better, man. Like, half of my complaints are about your companions breaking or just being dumb. But like, you had 7 years, alright. But yeah, there's the video. Actually, if you like these video reviews, I've made a Patreon page, which will have some cool stuff on it. Sketches for the video and the different Madness Combat characters. There will also be a step-by-step guide of how I made the animated intro. That'll be on there as well. You begin in arena mode by choosing your name and your character origin. You can be a noob, an agent, an experiment, a mercenary, or a patient to start out. All of these have their own unique benefits and drawbacks. For example, starting out as an agent will give you more points in firearms, but less in melee, weapons, yada yada yada, you get it. On the bus, Doc explains your mission. You're being transported to this building to renovate it and begin building your enterprise, which you'll need lots of money and manpower for. We need to do this because once we've grown our organization, we can run the enmeshment program and decipher the mandatus. Your character doesn't know what that means yet, but Doc says okay and boots you off to the building. Inside, we beat up a homeless guy who says he can help us once we turn on the power. We kill more homeless people, turn on the power, and then go back to the first homeless guy who says he knows someone who can give us some jobs for some quick cash, but says he's being held captive by some gang in town, so you go there and get killed and are introduced to the main gameplay loop of arena mode. You see, unlike in the story mode, you're garbage. Even if you pick one of the origins, you still start off with the base default moveset. And what is the base default moveset? Yeah, as you can see, we're about as strong as a tortoise with a little cotton hat, and about as fast as well. So just like in the original Project Nexus, we have to gain skills to increase our effectiveness in combat. But this is where the game employs a really cool system, and when I first heard this was how they were going to do XP in this game years ago, I verbally went, yes! You only get XP in missions for what you do in combat. If you use unarmed combat, you'll only get unarmed XP. If you didn't pick up a gun at all during the mission, you're not going to get any firearm XP, and vice versa. For any normal game, this system would be a double-edged sword. It is realistic and it makes sense from a game design standpoint, but it allows for some really cheap grinding methods. We all know the classic forge a million iron daggers to max out your forgery skill and Skyrim method. Man, I should really play that game one day. But Project Nexus smartly avoids this problem. Every mission has an actual fixed XP level to it, so you will get exactly 165 XP from this mission every time, unless you increase the difficulty to get more rewards. But this XP is split up at the end of the level based on how much of each skill you used. About the first 3/4 of this level is just bonking dudes with melee weapons, so you don't even get the chance to hold a gun until the final room. So you're probably going to get most of those points in melee and not in firearms. This geniusly lets you replay missions to grind whichever skill you want, and even better, allows for specialization. How many times in an RPG have you just said, different stats that change what I'm best at in the game? I guess I'll just even things out cause I don't want to risk being weak in another category. Project Nexus makes it easier for middle-of-the-road players like me to find what they specialize in, by rewarding you the most with the skill that you use the most. And that ties into the two coolest things about arena mode. It's insanely satisfying to see yourself grow steadily to beating up punks with baseball bats and wrenches, to fighting off zombies with machetes and handguns, to going up against the Nexus core itself with 5 teammates and a full arsenal on your back. And this game mode, in my opinion, is pretty well paced. There is a bit of grinding in the beginning to get some of the basic skills, but past that, you are mostly just rewarded from playing the game. And speaking of the skills, the only reason I know half the stuff I do about the combat that the game doesn't tell you is because the critical attack, the strong and super attacks, the sweet spot, and the tack bar are all things that you unlock as skills in the arena mode. So, other than the basic movement and combat controls, the player doesn't really need a tutorial for the arena mode, because they learn about the different, more complex aspects of the combat by virtue of getting them as rewards, and then the natural process of wanting to try out a new skill you just got and learning how it fits into your own personal combat skills as a player. And then it all comes full circle. Wait, is this why they have the training mission? Because they didn't know which game mode the player would play first? Ah, that's so fucking stupid. Why wouldn't you just teach the player as they play the game? Like any normal fucking game. Speaking of training, you have to have some way to train all your moves, right? Welcome to the Sleepwalker Dream program, where it's literally just Project Nexus Classic again. Turns out that this homeless guy just happened to have a simulation of the Project Nexus clone training program in his back pocket. This is the big reason for the grind in the beginning. The Sleepwalker program is hard. After going through a bunch of basic training waves with these hologram guys, you go up against your first actual group of enemies. And, well, they send about 4 or 5 unarmed grunts after you while an agent shoots you from the back. Oh, well, that's easy, just 4 grunts with an agent. I've fought much worse in story mode, but remember, we aren't Hank motherfucking Wimpleton here. We're, well, you. When you're just starting out the game with 0 skills, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And even with the basic unarmed and melee skills, a group of 3 or 4 grunts still pose a serious threat if they surround you. So the first hour or so of arena mode sucks. And I'm going to justify why that's a good thing. After you've been through all these desperate trials, after getting beaten down time and time again, it makes the end game where you're mowing down hordes of military personnel on your own all the more satisfying, because you remember when you were just a small little baby man who couldn't even punch that good, getting ganged up on by 5 unarmed men. These opening first fights where you get your ass kicked are the most important parts of this experience. Pro tip: equip the gun you have in your locker on your side and pull it out whenever an agent shows up to wreck your shit. This is the first and best mission in arena mode. The only reason for this being that the best song in the game plays only in this level and nowhere else in the game. You get swarmed by a lot of guys with melee weapons in this level, so you should at least come with the base unarmed and melee combat upgrades. Attack bar would be nice for this section. We get to the pilot who is being guarded by this short dude, so we proceed to beat him up and all of his friends. After we save the pilot, we're introduced to the helicopter missions. This is our secondary form of progression along with the bus missions. After completing all the available heli missions, you will unlock new bus missions that progress the story. And by the way, now that we've finished up the first mission, we have a few new employees at our base. This medic guy who will patch up you and your teammates when they die. You can revive them instantly for an exorbitant amount of cash, or wait a couple minutes until they're patched up fully and pay a reduced fee. There's also the quartermaster. As his name implies, he sells you weapons and armors. And also a couple of new services pop up about the base. There are different terminals that you can use to upgrade certain aspects of your corporation. You can increase the employee size, your squad size, the time and fees for healing, and other useful stuff. Unless you're absolutely hoarding money, The progression for all of these feels good. For this mission, you have to defend these 4 gas tanks from bandits and zombies. Big thing with these more sectioned off arenas is that when enough enemies pile up on one side, they can send an all-out attack to whatever you're defending. This one is tough, but possible at lower levels. A giant platform floating over a lava pit, with conveyor belts all leading towards the edge of the platform. In later waves, these flame walls activate on a timer and can be used to your advantage or your own demise. Industrial complex plays here again. I feel like here is where the progression slips up a little bit. It feels like you've transformed way too fast from complete loser to absolute badass with just these 2 missions. At the end of these waves, I had already unlocked melee combat level 3, which gives you the melee moveset of Sanford and Deimos. I feel like these levels give you way too much XP. I think spending a little longer as a little wimp would iron out this progression curve a bit. Now that we pretty much have our Enterprise up and running, we need to go repossess the equipment required to begin the enmeshment program and start deciphering the mandatus. Whatever that means. The equipment we need is stored in a local Italian food place, which is a front for another gang of sombrero-wearing, Tommy gun-toting, rootin'-tootin' Italian mob. Their voice lines are really funny.
Get 'em, fellas. Give me old 1-2.
If you aren't already pretty much Sanford and Deimos, you're going to be hard-pressed to finish this mission at all, especially with the suit guys with dual Tommy guns and a monster tack bar. Probably more than you have at this point. And also, did you fucking know that you can dual wield shotguns? Even with the first dual wield skill. It's fucking, oh my god! How did I not know this sooner? We end this level by killing this trio of painfully obvious Italian chefs. In this mission, you battle through the AAHW on a train. It's actually less cool than you think. The train just acts as separate arenas that you just have to battle through. These later waves can get really hard, actually. They have no shortage of engineers and soldats to throw at you. Your teammates are guaranteed to get fucked before you even get to the last arena. Spooky ghosts and skellies attack you in this haunted house. Also, bandits come and attack one of the 4 windows in the house, and you have to fight them off to prevent them from breaking in. Out of all the missions, this feels the most tacked on. I mean, come on. Spooky ghosts and skellies? You could have done better than that. Immediately afterwards, we have one of the best helicopter missions. You and your squad mates are special guests on the national television show Slaughter Time, in which you battle against hordes of increasingly strangely decked out enemies to survive. It's really fun. And the soundtrack is just... This level gives me PTSD. It starts out really cool. You go into this club and get to explore around and even buy some Cheshire and Lochnar merch. Nice. We are really here though for Doc to start negotiations with the gang you just fucked up in the last bus mission. Turns out we're going to need them as allies in order to proceed further with the plan. Whoops. While waiting for Doc, we actually come across Crackpot, who, when we talk to him, seems to know a little more about this enmeshment and mandatus that we've been told about this entire time. But we are interrupted by some noise out on the dance floor. Out on the dance floor, we encounter the old gang of punks from the first mission, but now they're vampire hunters? They keep talking about killing anyone suspicious. What could they mean? Out in the parking garage, the vampires show up. These guys fucking suck. If they stun you, which they do often, they can immediately go into a blood-sucking attack that does massive damage and ragdolls you to the floor afterwards. And they have their own tack bar, so guns are a waste. Not to mention they're very dodgy and agile in the first place. They have a strong pounce attack that can also stun you, and best of all, they have 2 corpuses. And outside, you have these big guys who, paired with the normal vampires, are a chore and a half to deal with. Luckily, near Near the end of the mission, the vampire hunters show up again, who are hostile to both you and the vampires, so you can use them to weaken up the vampires enough for you to finish them off. Back at base, we see a familiar face. This guy's back, and he sells rare tech and augmentations to your character. All of these just act as stat bonuses, though their descriptions are really cool. Instead of buying things with money, he only buys with tokens. These tokens are sometimes rewarded to you at the end of missions, so you probably have a bunch by now. You can also buy other color schemes from him, which is what I used to become Utopia itself. In this level, you fight the Marines from Half-Life while wading through a pile of SMGs to find the single one that isn't already half empty. This is a giant area with 3 different side rooms that enemies all come from. I originally started out by running into these side rooms to take out the enemies as they spawned, but it's way easier to just stay in the center of the room and wait for them to come to you. This is the first real madness combat level in arena mode. Lots of guys with guns, managing enemies and your own tac bar, gunning down hundreds of dudes, you get it by now. I'm just gonna say it, this level sucks. Like, so fucking bad. It just feels long for the sake of being long. Barely any guns spawn. It just, and you know what? I used to think it was good. When I wrote this bit of the script for the first time, I started it with, this level's pretty good. Oh, how naive you were, Thig. How foolish. And the fucking worst part is that I got to the final boss of the last wave, which, let me remind you, has 111 enemies in it. 100! And I got to the final boss of that last wave of this entire level, and I died because I was doing the finisher to kill him, like, for real, and the trap door underneath him fucking opened up and I had to do the whole thing over again from the beginning! This is the final helicopter mission, and it lives up to it. This is about as madness combat as the game gets. I have that in the script twice. I said that for the first Nexus infiltration, the tower infiltration level, and also for this level. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. Can I just cut that out, please? We're about to enter the final mission before we're distracted by some sombrero guy. He's actually been hiding out in all of the previous missions if you've been paying attention. We follow him and he reveals himself as the gambler. He talks in a really weird way, like he's from the past, but from the future? I don't really get it. Apparently we're going to meet God or something. Listen, the plot for this, like for the arena mode, is actually really fucking cool. Like, honestly, I wish I could talk about it, but this video is too fucking long for that. So you're just gonna have to trust me with it. These robot guys suck. They're only a little more spongy than regular enemies, and that wouldn't be so bad on its own if they didn't have the fastest melee in the world, and didn't hit like a truck too. And then there are these big guys. Well, they can do this to you. Their weapons are really cute though. They have the fucking strongest SMG in the game. I mean, just look at this rate of fire. The final boss of arena mode. He's not very challenging, but it's a fun fight. He goes into different forms as you break his corpus. He's got a spinny blade mode, a laser mode, a gliding ball mode, and the track that plays here is just, man, not as good as the story mode one, but it still does wonders for this final encounter. We beat him and are taken into some void. Wait, I thought we were supposed to meet God, or whatever that crazy guy was talking about. Well, I guess they're having an open-ended ending? Kinda weird, but, well, there's the video. Man, what a great experience. You know, I've always liked madness. No, 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 no! At least they had the decency to give us some new voice lines. They aren't voiced, they're just text. Shut up. Welp, here we are again. Yep, still a dump. Oh my god, please help me get this guy back from these guys. They're gonna... To simulate how excruciatingly awful this experience was, I will now proceed to recap the entirety of Arena Mode to you again. This is the simulation program of the original Project Nexus game that you use to train up your skills before hitting tougher missions. Now that I think about it, I didn't really ever use the Sleepwalker program after the first bus mission. You get enough skill points from the helicopter missions and the bus missions themselves that you don't really ever need to train. I guess they needed a way for you to train up your skills before you had access to the helicopter, which does make sense. It's still a grind fest as usual. This is the first bus mission and still has the best song in the game. I always like to wait until I have the melee crit skill before heading into this mission because I just like perfectly timing a slow and deliberate bonk on the head. Oh, and yeah, if you were expecting any of the other dialogue to be different, you're out of luck, buddy. In this mission, you have to defend these gas pumps from bandits and zombies, and in segmented off areas like this, they can send charged waves at you from either side, and also sometimes these big guys show up, and also I just realized this is the only time in arena mode you fight zombies, as opposed to, like, every other level in story mode. This is a big old platform with some lava. You fight Zerker dudes and the annoying welder mask guys who take a million hits to kill, and your first enemies with tack bars, the mercs, who also appear in the story mode. Good song. You like go shoot up the local Italian mob. These guys are hard, these guys are easy, they got funny accent, haha. You can also dual wield shotguns, OMG. This is the train, and this mission sucks because all my guys keep dying in the second room and I have to do the rest of the mission on my own, which is like the last mission, and it's 2 more rooms and I've fight 2 fucking rooms of people on my own. Spooky Ghost, this one is bad because it's kind of boring. No fun enemies with tack bars, no melee and throwing knife cultists, just dumb grunts and skelly big boys. I'm glad this one is over quickly at least. Still the best helicopter mission in the game, though this one sucks because all the enemies use projectile weapons, which you can't tack bar dodge, which really isn't a problem for you, but it is for your teammates. They always die on the second or third wave of later stages. I always prioritize the enemies with guns over anyone else when they spawn. Really bad vampire level. I managed to beat them the first try this time, which is... it feels awesome. Like I just kicked these vampires' undead asses. On the first try, no less. Oh, and I still talk to Crackpot like I don't know what enmeshing the mandatus is because lazy devs. This one, I actually had a lot of fun with this time. Mostly because I got the fucking murder room out of the way beforehand. Once you can actually find a weapon to use for more than 2 seconds, it's a fun level. This level's fucking... Listen, all I wanted to do was just kill some great penis, man. Why did you do this to me? I just wanted to kill the great penis, man. Did you have to do this to me? I don't understand. Why does it take so long? I just need to fucking... Did you see it, please? I just don't want to do it anymore. I just wanted to stop, please. This is my favorite arena mode level now. Now that I have a pretty much maxed out team, which, by the way, can we talk about my team for a sec? I didn't get much footage of them in my first playthrough, but I totally decked out my new team. I tried to keep them mainly one color each. Of course, I was Utopia, but I gave the other characters some cool color schemes of their own as well. Anyways, Nexus Core facility is fun. Would recommend. Okay, finally, we're back. This script is already 33 fucking pages, and I don't even want to think about how long the video is, which for a script writing thing, by the way, is about 2.5 fucking hours. I don't even want to fucking think about how long it took to edit this, but we finally made it, and we got some new dialogue, finally. Oh my god. Not a new cutscene? It just keeps looping? Does that mean that... Wow. So, then it's finally over. I don't have to keep playing, do I? Well, even if there is a super true secret ending at the end of a third playthrough, I'm not fucking doing all that again. If you want to see it so bad, then you can just go fucking buy the game yourself. Even though I just told you, like, everything about it. Or you can just look up Madness Project Nexus Arena Mode all endings on YouTube like I did. So, we finally made it. This has been a fucking chore and a half making this video. This is easily the largest and most ambitious thing I've ever done. To sum up my thoughts, I mean, this game has been in the making since, like, Cyberpunk 2077 was announced. It could have easily been bloated with features and insanely buggy and boring to play, but... Come on, really? This is Matt Jolly and Michael Swain we're talking about here. They wouldn't phone this one in even if their lives were on the line. Even so, it's easy to be blinded by passion and not see the fault in your ideas. And I mean, this game had some pretty sweet ideas, and some not so sweet ones. I mean, that critical attack mechanic is really the thing holding the combat together in its entirety. Good job with that one. I've beaten The Last of Us all the way through maybe 4 times? That's a lot of times to replay a linear single-player game. I knew that shit inside out. I knew where all the movement bugs happened. I knew where the contrast changes randomly once you go outside. I knew where all the silly little cutscene animations happened, and I knew which parts of the game sucked. And most of all, I noticed that the game only had like 2 puzzles it reused over and over again. But I still love the game, and I think realizing all of its faults and shortcomings made me love it even more, and I think Project Nexus is the same with me. So why is this video called a masterpiece in spite of it all? Because this game had so many things that could have ruined the experience for me. The shitty AI, the frustrating enemies, the obtuse controls, but in spite of all that, I still love this game, because the scratches and bumps of this game are the true marks of a labor of love, and they're only marks that my little Madness Project Nexus has, and I still love him in spite of all his little imperfections. And yes, I'll say it, I think this might just be one of the best third-person action games I've ever played.
What the hell is this?
So yeah, that's the video. Thanks for making it all the way through, by the way. I know this is the longest thing I've ever made so far, but yeah, I have a Patreon, which is different from my Army of Me Patreon. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, there's going to be a shit ton of rewards, like behind the scenes stuff, bloopers, outtakes. Oh, and also, there's going to be an entire full breakdown of how I made that cool-ass intro animation. Get back into animation, and it's a lot of fun. More importantly, that White Hank R34 joke I made, that's gonna be in there. So come down and check that out. Yeah. In the I think future videos, the current ones I've planned are Golden Light and No More Heroes. Not specifically in that order. But yeah, I don't know when those are happening. Because right after this video goes live, I'm gonna start working on Army of Me again, which, if you don't know, is my web comic that I'm making. It's over on Webtoon, and there'll be a link in the description. And there's also a Patreon for that if you don't like my YouTube stuff, or vice versa, if you want to support me here on my channel and don't give a shit about fucking anime comics or whatever. Lastly, special thanks. What? I wanted to thank the Project Nexus team and Crinkles, Sean Hodges, all those guys, making a great game. Go support them. Go buy the game. It's only $25, or at least just listen to the soundtrack, because it's fucking god tier. That shit's like banging. You watch the video. You know what I'm talking about. But and go watch Madness Combat. It's a great series. With some great action in it. Just a lot of mindless fun. I'm sure you've noticed so far. There's a lot of mindless fun in the Madness series. So yeah, go give them your money, but also give me your money too, please. Love you. Bye.
So, no dice?
We need to assemble everyone. Anyone you have left at your disposal.
Hubris.
We must take back the tower. Recover the project from Hank and his cohorts. We're out of time. It must be now.
Christoph, what's... You okay?
Impossible. No, Sheriff. I'm afraid we're not okay. The employers. They have come.
Stand down, mortal.
You are not welcome in Nevada. State your business and go.
The self-proclaimed savior of Nevada. We don't have time or patience for your ego.
Know your place, worm, and be silent for once.
You've earned your rest, Doctor. Don't you see that your part in this drama has reached an end?
Absurd. As we speak, Hank threatens to merge Nevada with the other place. If you have any loyalty to this world, you will stop him at once.
Hank Wimbledon will be dealt with. Neither he nor Nevada are any of your concern any longer.
Nor is it your concern to meddle in affairs far above your primitive understanding. Something you have done already far too much of.
Why are you here? Why have you come?
Project Nexus is of no more use to us. Its purpose has been served. Consider its charter revoked.
The next threat to this realm approaches rapidly. The time has come to draft a new charter.
Cease your meandering and tell me what you want.
We have a project for you, Jebediah Christoph. And when the time comes to fulfill it, you will fall in line. Do not fail us.
Does this mean there's, like, gonna be a sequel? Like, is there? Is there gonna be a sequel? Is there gonna be one? Tell me. Tell me. I dare you.